I'm Chef John Folse. Food is so much more than nutrition here in the South. Every weekend on Louisiana's back roads and bayous, our festivals celebrate the food, music, and cultures that make us unique. Why not join me as we visit the fairs and festivals of our state and cook up another great taste of Louisiana?
Funding for this program is provided by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism. Vieux Carré, Zydeco, Atchafalaya, Natchitoches. In Louisiana, you'll say things you've never seen before.
Here we are in Old T-Bird crossing the Atchafalaya Basin as we visit the International Rice Festival. This celebration, founded in 1937, totally encompasses the Acadia Parish town of Crowley. Culture, music, food, and paying tribute to two of Louisiana's greatest resources, rice and livestock, is what this festival is all about. Here, cooks from the Cajun Triangle fire up their cast iron pots to create the South Louisiana treat known as gratin, or crackling. Once cooked, the pork rind is seasoned and served in brown paper bags as a hot and spicy snack food. Boy, are they good, too. Naturally, there's a cooking competition held here, and the rules are simple. The main ingredient of every dish must be rice. The judges listen attentively as the competitor, dressed in period costume, explain the origin of the dish and the proper method for assembly and cooking. The judges are all local celebrities with a keen interest and knowledge in Louisiana rice cookery. The competitors must display a complete recipe so that the judges can follow along during the cooking demonstration. When done, well, naturally, they have to sample the dish and strive diligently to choose a winner, but believe me, this task is never easy. In addition to the technique and the flavor of the dish, these youngsters enjoy the opportunity to perform before a group and to fine-tune their public speaking skills, which is imperative to their success in the future.
Sing the songs, play the games. Take a look. Doesn't it look great? Rice makes it so easy to prepare.
Many use the demonstration portion of their time on stage to instruct the judges in rice quality and the different phases of rice processing. Of great interest to most attending the Rice Festival is the ongoing exhibitions by rice farmers using the tools of days gone by. Here an 1884 rice huller is shown in action, just the way it was used many years ago when farmers milled their own rice. The power for this unit is supplied by the flywheel of an antique John Deere tractor. The rice is separated from the chaff and shoveled into 100-pound sacks ready for cooking. The festival should be of particular interest to parents with young children. Please take this opportunity to give your child a view into our agricultural past. Another interesting display this weekend in Crowley is the team competitions centered on rice production at the turn of the century. This two-man team exercise shows the loading of the rice shocks or bundles the way they're thrown by pitchfork from one man to another. The judges score by the amount of time it takes to load the wagon. The bundles are then loaded from the wagon to the thrasher, again powered in antique fashion. I only wish that more festivals, not only in Louisiana but nationwide, placed a greater emphasis on our cultural and industrial past so that those living today may experience the tremendous challenges of those who came before. And by the way, when we wonder where all of those government regulations come from when we talk about clean air, just view this for a moment. One of the more humorous and closely watched activities of the competition between the mayors and the city council members in the art of sack sewing. At one time, the rice sacks were all sewn by hand, and a properly tied sack holding over 100 pounds of rice could hit the ground hard without bursting open. The judges checked very closely not only for the proper stitch, but more importantly, for the technique used to create those handles that are used to move such a heavy load. The council members will move from this competition to another arena where they try their hand at shocking. In this contest, the members must stand the shocks of rice on end in a balancing act that protects the grains from pests and rainy weather. Yes, the Rice Festival is truly a community activity bringing family and friends together for a weekend in the country. How about loading up the kids and join us in Crowley for great food, good fun, and a view into our cultural past at the Crowley Rice Festival. I can't even begin to imagine trying to prepare a meal in Louisiana without rice. It's such an important part of our everyday existence here in Bayou Country and throughout the state. You know, we don't really know when rice arrived in Louisiana. We don't know if the Native Americans were actually using rice when La Salle came down the river in 1609. But we do know that rice was cultivated 7,000 years before Christ in Asia. We also know that it was the late 1600s when rice arrived in the Carolinas and then eventually made its way down to Bayou Country, Louisiana, and the rest is history. We've been eating rice ever since. And coming to visit with me in the kitchen just a little bit later, someone who knows a lot about rice, Wayne Garber. Wayne's a rice farmer. He farms a couple other commodities in Louisiana. We're going to talk about not only rice as we know it, but some of the new flavored rices, the aromatic rice that's so popular in Louisiana today. Well, when I think about cooking a dish with rice, what, jambalaya, red beans and rice, gumbo, we could cook no dish, as I mentioned, without it. So it was kind of a task to figure out exactly what would I prepare for you today with rice. So I decided to kind of take a little twist on Louisiana cooking and do one of those dishes that's very famous, risotto, using the arborio rice with the Louisiana flavors, crawfish and a little bit artichoke, and maybe even some ham if we want to throw it in. Let's take a look at my platter here because I have the short grain, the very short grain arborio rice, which is perfect for risotto. In fact, most people call this risotto rice. This is the pearl rice of California as well is called risotto, so don't confuse that. Just arborio rice. We're going to put some artichokes in. I've chopped these into little quarter or half-inch pieces. We're going to put crawfish in it to give it that Louisiana flavor. And, of course, here is saffron, the most important part of any risotto because this gives the risotto its bright yellow color. And then any herbs and spices that we want to add into the skillet is okay, especially if you want to throw tasso or undo it. I have a little black iron skillet here, and I'm going to begin by putting a little bit olive oil down into it. I've got my skillet nice and hot because I want to saute a bunch of different vegetables. Again, in Louisiana risotto, we're going to put in onion, celery, bell pepper, the same thing that we would normally put in all of our Louisiana dishes. So you want to throw all of those in. Color, you see that color again. Of course, a little bit garlic. Risotto needs garlic for flavor. And then I'm going to stir all of these good vegetables around in that hot skillet. You want to wilt them. You want to just kind of get all of those vegetables transparent or translucent to pull all of the nice flavor out. Now, once this sautés for just a second, we want to come into the skillet with the arborio, with the short grain rice, because we have to sauté this for a couple of minutes. As many as 10, 12 minutes would be perfect for this. You want to stir it around and go ahead and coat the grains well with the olive oil. And, of course, not only olive oil, but all of this other great flavor. Now, of course, most of the cultures around the world, whether it be the French, whether it be the Italians, they all have different ideas about how to flavor risotto. That's why I feel perfectly good about putting crawfish and artichoke or ham or whatever in here. They use escargot or snails. They use a lot of different things, chorizo, sausage, mussels, you name it, anything into the stir-fried risotto. Now, once the grains are well coated with the olive oil and full flavored with the garlic, now I'll throw in just a couple little pieces of the crawfish to start to add that crawfish flavor and a couple little chunks of the artichoke. We want to get that down and, again, saute it into the rice. Now I've taken the saffron, which is, of course, the little stamens, the little threads of the inside of a lily that grows out in the Middle East, and that colors and flavors the rice to a beautiful golden color. But first, you have to allow it to bloom. You have to allow that saffron to sit in water to get that really nice golden color. You see how pretty that is? And I'm going to add a little bit of the saffron liquid to the risotto just to kind of stir it in. You see how hot that is? And stir it as you add the saffron and allow the rice to absorb it. You want the rice to slowly pick up that nice saffron color, and at the same time, I'm going to intertwine the saffron stock with some crawfish stock. I have a little bit crawfish stock in my pitcher here, and it's about the same color, by the way, just about the same color as the saffron. So you just keep putting that great flavor into it. Now you have the idea here of what you have to do. Just keep on going. You can see how this skillet is starting to take on a beautiful look. And once this is all in, then I can go ahead and finish the dish. I want to show you one pot that has been sitting here for, I guess about 15 minutes. Take a look at this, where the risotto has been cooking for about 20 minutes, absorbing all of the liquid, and I've added some of the crawfish to it. As you can see, I'm going to add the rest. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of the crawfish, a couple good handfuls of the chopped artichokes. Just add them in at this point and blend them into the risotto like this. And then, of course, come back and flavor it, if you like, with salt, with pepper, with whatever herb you want. I'm going to add a little thyme and basil right on top, nice and fresh, right on top like this. Throw in a little cracked pepper for spice, a little salt naturally. But remember, the stock has salt and pepper and all of that in it already. And, of course, once that's done, then we can plate it up in a beautiful fashion. And I want to show you what it looks like when it's all done. It just plates up beautifully. And remember that 7,000 years ago, rice was discovered in China. So present it on a little Chinese platter, as I've done right here. Look how nice this platter is with the risotto in the middle. And, of course, garnish it with some red. Put some color on that platter. It's absolutely a beautiful dish. Risotto from Louisiana with a Cajun and Creole look to it. Now, the next dish I want to do for you is another dish that's very typical of Louisiana cooking, but certainly depends heavily on rice in its original form and in this new and creative way. I'm going to do a red beans, rice, and sausage gumbo. And look at the components here. I have the rice that's already cooked. I'm using one of the flavored rices. In fact, this is the pecan flavored rice here. And it's really nice. It's already cooked, nice and tender. Then I have some of the filet powder, the ground leaves of the sassafras tree, which we put in all of our gumbos. The red beans, or red kidney beans, have already been simmered. They're nice and tender, but I didn't overcook them. I cooked them just till they're al dente. And then, of course, the different sausages. I have some tasso, the Cajun ham, which is very nice and spicy. I have the andouille, which is the smokiest of all of our sausages. I love to put this in red beans. And then, of course, tomato and any other spice you want to put. I've got old ham bone here, too. You don't think I'd cook red beans without a ham bone. Well, I started out in my black iron pot here with a little bit of roux. Now, of course, roux is equal parts of oil and flour. I know you can see this here. I didn't make a real dark roux. In fact, I made a lighter roux because the red beans are going to also act as a thickening agent. I'm going to come into this roux with a little bit onions, just as I would with any other gumbo. Onion, celery, bell pepper, the trinity again in all of our cooking. Onion, celery, bell pepper. I'll kind of stir that around a little bit. You see how hot that is. And then a little bit garlic. Now, roux can be made to different colors. You can make them light brown, dark brown. You can even make them white. Butter and flour, of course, is just nice snow white for white sauces and cream soups and those type of things. But in Cajun cooking, the brown roux gives us our color, gives us that real peanut or smoky flavor that we love so much, and then, of course, colors our dishes to the desired color that we like. So 3 purposes for the roux. Once that's in, I'm going to go ahead and add some of my andouille or some of my smoked sausage, because that's going to pull the smoky flavor into my roux. And, of course, now I could also add my ham bone. I want to go ahead and throw that ham bone from last week's ham. I had some left. I would never throw that away. I'd always save that for a good pot of beans. And then, of course, I can come back in and add some of the chunks of that tasso, the most spicy and flavorful of the Cajun hams. And, of course, that always goes into red beans as well. Now I'm going to add a red bean stock. This is the water that I boil the beans in to get them nice and tender. So I'm going to go ahead and put that red bean stock. You can see that it's got the color of the beans. And this is a soup, so you don't want it to be as thick as red beans and rice. You want it to be more of a gumbo, of a soupy consistency. And you want to blend all of that in. And you can see it already has the color of red beans because the beans were cooked in it. Now, once this is all blended, it's going to pick up that red bean flavor right away. Of course, the smoky flavor of the ham, smoky flavor of the andouille, and, of course, that ham bone, the onions, the garlic, all of that in there. And then I'm going to add all of my red kidney beans. And again, this is going to thicken it a little bit more once it starts to cook. So I want to kind of blend that in. And to finish it, I'm going to bring this to a boil, of course, and right when it's cooked, let's say it cooks here for about 35, 40 minutes. You want all of this to really cook nicely. I'm going to finish it with a little bit fresh tomato, just like that. Then I'm going to put a little touch of thyme and basil right into the pot as well, and season it with salt, pepper, a little bit of that good Louisiana hot sauce for spice. You always want to add all of your own ingredients too. I mean, just go ahead and make this your own dish. Go ahead and throw a little spice into it. Stir it up again, and then right at the end, right before it comes to the table, you want to add to the pot a little touch of this wonderful filet powder, the ground leaves of the sassafras tree, and then the cooked white rice. Just blend it in right at the end to make sure that the rice does not cook anymore, because this is fully cooked, and just add enough to have the same consistency as a rice soup, any other like a wild rice soup. You can see how nice that is. And boy, what a great flavor this is going to be. You want this to cook, of course, for somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 minutes before you take it off of the fire. Let all of those good flavors come together. The beans are already done. Let me show you what it looks like after it comes out of that pot and into a terrine. First of all, take a look at my terrine. This is a beautiful terrine with a crab on top, real handmade. And look at that red bean, rice, and sausage soup. Who won't sit before a fireplace with this on a cold winter night? Hey, or a hot summer day in Louisiana. This is a great, great soup. Okay, now I have two other dishes that I picked up at the Rice Festival, and if you would have been living in New Orleans in about 1700, you would have heard the Creole girls running down the quarter shouting, "Bel Cali tout chaud," beautiful rice cakes, piping hot. It's like beignets. It's rice that's cooked, mashed with flour and cinnamon, nutmeg, sugar, and then fried, just like our beignets today. A really nice rice cake from New Orleans. And then the premier Cajun breakfast. This is a little stir-fried egg, sausage, and rice with the boudin that is also stuffed with rice, a real hearty Cajun breakfast. I tell you what, that'll keep you going all day. Now, I told you about my buddy Wayne Garber, who was coming into the kitchen to talk about rice even more than I've been talking about it. And he's a great guy from Iota, Louisiana.
How you doing, John?
Good to see you. How you doing?
It's good to see you again.
Man, what do you have here?
I brought you some real rice from the country, John.
I've been cooking that basmati. I've been cooking that arborio. You're bringing me good Louisiana rice.
It's the best, John.
Oh, this is the Creole Rose. This is your brand, huh?
It's our label.
Yeah, man, thanks a lot. Now, see, it says aromatic, so we're going to talk a little bit more about aromatic rice in just a little bit. But thanks a million. How's the family?
Family's doing fine. Doing real well.
My dad said to tell you hello. I know y'all worked together for a while.
We sure did.
St. James Sugars.
It's been about 18 years since I've worked with him, but we certainly had some good times when we were making sugar down in St. James.
Well, hey, he remembers you well. And when you and I talked a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the jambalaya rice salad. We were talking about how you put all of the ingredients together and how rice fits into just about any dish in Louisiana. And I told you I was going to give you the recipe, and I want to show all of these guys the recipe too. So why don't you come down here and give me a hand? And jambalaya, of course, is that one of those dishes that you can make by kind of cleaning the refrigerator, putting everything into the pot to create a dish that would otherwise probably just go unnoticed because there's pieces of this and pieces of that. The most important jambalayas are made with chicken and sausage and pork. But here we're going to make the jambalaya salad with seafoods. I have a lot of different seafoods. I want you to stir that for me. Just go ahead and stir that bowl right there. Just keep the rice going. I'm going to add into this some mayonnaise. Now, can you imagine throwing mayonnaise on top of rice?
I'm not sure, John. I don't know about this.
I'll tell you what, this is going to be a great recipe. You're going to love it. Creole mustard. Creole mustard on top of rice, huh?
You're going to mess up my rice, John.
This is your rice, too, by the way. A little tomato. I'll never mess up a dish, though, that's for sure.
All right, I trust you.
Look, if I want to know anything about growing rice, I'm coming to Wayne Garber. If you want to know something about a good salad, you have to come to me, right?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Now I'm going to put a little purple onion down into it. And you can see all the components of Louisiana going down into the dish here. I'm going to put basil and thyme. We're basically flavoring the rice with all of the things that normally go into, say, a good potato salad. Salt and pepper. The rice has been cooked with just a little bit salt, but we're going to put a little salt and pepper into it. And then, of course, all of the seafoods of Cajun country. I have shrimp here, I have crawfish, I have sausage. Everything that would normally go into a seafood jambalaya is going to go into this rice salad. So I'll begin with the jumbo lump crab. I'm going to put the shrimp with this is 2125 shrimp, crawfish. There's some of that smoked sausage that's already cooked. I'm even going to throw in crispy fried oysters, just for the heck of it, and some diced ham, diced tasso, and stir all of that up. And I can finish it with a little parsley, a little bit green onions. Now tell me that doesn't look good, huh?
Looking better.
It's looking better now the shrimp in it. Well, go ahead and stir that up. Get a really nice look in there. And the thing about it is you want to continue to just blend it and, of course, present it in a nice way. You want to put all of that in a nice bowl, and you can serve it with lettuces and all of that. It's really, really great. We'll taste that. I'll let you sample it a little bit later, okay? I know you're dying to sample it.
Looks good.
Have a seat right here. We're going to talk a little bit about rice and about farming and all of that. How long have your family's been in farming? Forever, right?
Just about, John. I'm the fourth generation here in America. My great-grandfather came over from Switzerland in 1881 and began farming in St. Martinville, Louisiana. He was farmed vegetables, and he marketed his vegetables with a mule and a wagon up and down the streets of St. Martinville, Louisiana.
and what crops do y'all currently farm?
Our families are now farming rice, soybeans, and sweet potatoes.
You know, when I was doing my research on rice, because I'm always trying to dive in the books to find out where the origin of our Louisiana foods come from, and nobody really knew. There was nothing written about the origin of rice in Louisiana other than a little bit speculation. Do you have any better information as to when rice got to Louisiana?
Well, I know that rice has been grown here as far back as our ancestors can remember. I don't know the exact date that it was brought here, but I know that our families have rice as a main part of most of their dishes, so it has to have been here for several generations.
Where does rice stand as far as for production on your farm and all of the commodities? How much rice do y'all grow?
Well, on Garber Farms, we raise approximately 1/3 of our production is in rice, and we have about 1/3 in sweet potatoes and 1/3 in soybeans to kind of form a balance between the three crops.
Now, you know, I was reading that in China, or in Asia, I should say, the normal consumption of rice is 210 pounds per person. In America, it's 12 pounds per person. What do you think it is in Louisiana?
I don't know. I think in Cajun, Louisiana, we're probably challenging the Chinese, wouldn't you think?
Well, I would have to say probably, what, about 50, 60 pounds of rice?
I would think so.
Why do you think we have such a fascination with rice here?
Well, I think it's because rice naturally grew in South Louisiana because of the climate, the water resource that we have is a natural for rice production, and I think that because it was so available and the price was very economical, people made it a part of their main dishes, and then as they got more creative, as you've shown us here today, they just began to have more and more rice dishes, so that we do consume a lot of rice in South Louisiana.
Now tell me about this new craze with the aromatic rice. I say new, I know it's been around for a little while, but everywhere you turn, aromatic rice is on the shelf.
Well, I think it's a natural. We, having been raised on rice, raised on just what I call ordinary rice, we have, over the years, as this aromatic rice became available through the LSU experiment station in the early 60s, we began eating it in the place of ordinary rice. And it's got such a, the aroma creates such an appetite, just a good feeling of wanting to eat and enjoy your food. And then, of course, it has a flavor. A lot of people tend to always talk about the aroma, but aromatic rice has a flavor. So in itself, it just is a natural that once you eat it, you really don't feel right eating ordinary rice again. You just keep wanting that flavor and that aroma.
And I guess the flavor and the aroma also allows you to cut back some of the fats or leave the oil out because it has a flavor all its own.
This is something that really helps people who are on special diets. They can enjoy rice without adding anything to it.
Now, what about the market? Is there a good market for it around the country?
Excellent market. We have tremendous demand for aromatic rice. We gift box this rice throughout the United States, and we also ship to some wholesale markets. And once, like I said, it's just so great that people become captivated by it.
Now, if I want to get my hands on some and I lived up in Washington State, how would I go about getting it?
Well, you would either call Garber Farms or you would call Call John.
Oh,
I'm sure you could tell him where to go, couldn't you, John?
No, cool. Well, it's great. I'm going to sample the Creole Rose rice here. I think it's fantastic. I have sampled it. It's wonderful. And Wayne, thank you so much for stopping by the kitchen and visiting with us. And thank all of you for stopping by as we continue to visit fairs and festivals and cook up more great Taste of Louisiana. We're going to sample rice salad.
Funding for this program is provided by the Louisiana Department of Culture, Recreation, and Tourism. Vieux Carré, Zydeco, Atchafalaya, Natchitoches. In Louisiana, you'll say things you've never seen before.
More information on events in Louisiana can be yours at no cost. Call 1-800-36-GUMBO for your free Louisiana tour guide listing festivals, attractions, and points of interest throughout the Bayou State. Chef John Folse's Louisiana Sampler, a companion cookbook to this series, contains the colorful history and culinary secrets behind Louisiana's most exciting festivals. For your copy, send a check or money order for $19.95 to Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Or use your credit card by calling toll-free 1-800-973-7246.